So now we're going to talk about something that is emerging as a wonderful opportunity in our space, and that is software as a service and elastic capacity for billing capabilities and what opportunities that brings to us today. And joining us from Logica is Bernd Freier, and he's the Director for Telecoms and Media Global Industry Sector for Logica, now part of CGI. So please join me in welcoming Bernd Freier.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Indeed, what you may notice is, and you ask yourself, why is a person announced being from Logica is presenting you slides on the CGI logo, and it is simply because we are indeed now CGI, forming the 6th biggest IT services company globally. And with that, I would like to start the presentation, and the presentation is about how to provide a comprehensive rating and billing and cash management functionality, which is not limited by a classical on-premise deployment model in terms of capacity, and which can be priced on demand rather than with the classical projects and maintenance-based cash flow model. So what I will do, I will quickly motivate why we did what we did by highlighting the industry trends and showing then deriving the resulting challenges for rating, billing, and revenue management. And then I will, in fact, present our billing as a service proposition and what benefit it delivers before I hopefully even have the time to wrap up. So the industry trends, and I hope this is not turning out to be a small print reading contest, no. The industry trends are, in fact, I think, known to everybody who is looking at rating and billing in the industry. And I group them into general trends and into more segment-specific trends, because that is going to be quite important for why we did that. And the industry trends, the global trends, are indeed multi-domain convergence, dealing with quality of service, so with differentiated quality of service products. Of course, the evergreen platform consolidation and cost containment. Probably more interesting is the fact that I think that the telecom industry becomes really a fast-moving consumer goods industry. So we will see a lot more pressure on time to market. So that means that people must define the products on the system themselves. So if you stick to the traditional processes of marketing, some technology, or business requirements, people in the middle, etc., this all just takes too long and creates also too many errors. And that is a challenge to make the systems appealing directly to the business users. I also think that the revolution in data usage probably not necessarily creates more profit because of that boundary of set by the flat rates. So we may, at the end of the day, see the emergence of volume-based models again. And finally, I think more and more we deal with ecosystems of product offerings rather than the classical provider provides and consumer consumes. So we need to do multi-party billing and also tackle the fact that customers really move increasingly their life to the cloud. So consume cloud products, which we need to store and to rate and bill and offer. And finally, I think probably the most important thing on that slide is that indeed different markets have different needs. So I don't think that you can, with one and only one installation of a billing system, serve both the B2C and the B2B market, let alone the wholesale market, because they differ a lot in number of customers, in the structure of the customers, and in the tariff. So in terms of complexity, from S meaning simple and very complex meaning, VC meaning very complex. And therefore, I think even if you have one billing system that can handle all of this in theory, you need different setups. So the more interesting trends for my presentation are the segment-specific trends. And here we have, in fact, trends from three groups. We have businesses that start up or are based on an entirely new business models like the machine-to-machine or like MVNOs. We have companies that are short in cash and probably also short in management capacity, mainly companies that are owned by private equity investors that are not holding on to that investment for a very long time, therefore are not really inclined to invest into a transformation of the rating and billing platforms. And also on the MVNO side, but probably also at least in the startup phase on the M2M side, the teams are very small, so they just can't engage into a big transformation program to deploy a new billing system if they have a functional need. Yeah, so that all means that you have challenges in scaling, so you need to be flexible in scaling to deal with that unpredictability in the business model. You need to be flexible in the cost structure to deal with that cash flow issues of VC-owned companies and small startup MVNOs. And you need to be light to operate and easy to migrate to deal with the complications and limitations in the team size. So what does that mean for the billing and for the billing systems? I think there are three categories of requirements that can be derived from this analysis. One is standard functional requirements that we all know. So yes, of course, you need to be able to deal with all the products and services. You need to be able to do real-time and batch and quality of service-based rating. Interestingly, picking up on that remark of machine-to-machine being a low-margin business, that's right if you price this by traffic, but if you price that by value and you price the business transactions, then you are into an entirely different game, and that is why any system that wants to deal with those business models needs to deal with business value pricing. Then there is a second group which is advanced functional requirements, like talking to IP systems, dealing with multi-party rating, dealing with cloud products, and also, and that's, this multi-industry support is important if you want to provide a service that is cheap to run, because cheap to run is something that has an economy of scale, and an economy of scale you get from offering the same system to multi-industries. But also multi-industry support can become very important if you want to offer this into or run this in an M2M business, and you want to not only bill your services but also bill the M2M services for your customers, which can be logistics, smart grid companies, insurance companies, etc., etc. And then there is the third category, and this is really what drove our proposition, and that is flexibility, commercial flexibility, so pay-as-you-use models, also rather low to no CapEx demands, capacity flexibility, so both elasticity in the capacity, but also a removal of that need to size for the peak, because if you run a number of applications, so a rating system, a messaging system, whatever, on one cloud, and they are not positively correlated, then you can level the demand, and then you don't need to scale every one of those systems for the peak performance, and that of course saves you a lot of money. This light touch operations, so that you really can, you remove a lot, if not all, of the operational need to run the system in itself, but and you focus on using the system, so basically doing the rating and billing, but not running the platform. And all of those requirements really need to move away from the classical on-premise model to a software as a service model. And that is why we concluded that a software as a service model for billing would be a smart thing to do. And when you pick up on those requirements I just mentioned, so commercial flexibility, capacity flexibility, and light touch operations, when you want to deliver this, key is a shared platform to get the economies of scale. So basically, providing one platform that can be used by multiple industries, because the more industries you support, the more users you will get, the cheaper it gets. And also, of course, centralized platform operations. The capacity flexibility is rather obvious how you deliver this, because you just run the platform in the cloud. But it must be a trusted cloud for data integrity and data privacy reasons, at least in Europe. It offers then, as I said, the option to balance the load across multiple platform users, but also across many operations, so that you don't need to deal with those monster peaks that you have for real-time rating. In fact, you could even move other applications to such a cloud, like messaging services, so that would fall into the same category. And the light touch operations that you deliver, in fact, by providing a platform as a service, because that comes with a set of APIs that is operated by others. So the management of the platform is done centrally. And of course, it offers all the functions used by all the industries and all the users. So this grows for everybody over time and gets smarter and smarter, and that then can be capitalized by everybody. And this is asking what functional modules you need. The answer is very simple, all of them. So starting from financial customer care, continuing and self-service, continuing from mediation through rating, through billing, through cash management, through collections and financial ledger. So basically the end-to-end usage to cash process, and you run this all on the cloud. So this is basically the scope that we deliver. And it's integrated via a middleware, so a commercially available middleware, to make it very easy to integrate this to the customer premise platforms that still be with the customer, like customer management, ordering, etc. So yes, there is a certain integration effort, but we try to make that as simple and straightforward as we possibly could. And the platform and the functionality is one thing, but if you offer a platform as a service, you also need to offer the processes that come with it to introduce it, to scope it, to introduce it, to manage the transition, because of course you have to migrate customer and product data, and finally to operate it. So all of those processes are supported and provided as well as a package together with such a platform, because if you just put the platform and then you say, look, how you migrate your data on them is not our problem, guess what, you will not get any customer interested into that. And also, all of those things are really repetitive activities. So if you know how to do them, you will be able to do them more and more effectively every time you do them. And as well as you have economies of scale in the platform, you also have economies of scale in the onboarding process, because of course you make that as much geared towards an offshore delivery as possible. So that makes it also quite cheaper, in fact. And then coming already almost to an end, talking about, okay, what's in it for somebody who goes with that model. It's very simple. So first of all, you changed your cost structure from an CapEx loaded model where you have a very high initial investment into something that has a rather much lower initial investment, because there is no license, there is no installation and customization. There is only what's left of the initial piece is the migration. And even that migration, if the contract is just long enough, that can be basically financially engineered over the lifetime of the contract. There is no problem. Yeah, and then you have this, I coined it here pay as you grow, but in fact it is pay as you use. Yeah, and if you use more, you pay more. So you basically transform the model, the cost model, from something that needs a lot of upfront payment to something that has a longer and bigger tail, but is far lighter on the front end. And what we see is in projects, and also with talking with our customers that are interested in the project, when we scope it and do the business cases, we need about 80% less upfront costs to deploy this compared to an on-premise deployment. And the other advantages, of course, are you lower the cost and risk for new services, because there is no change. It's a software as a service. There is no change request. You have a professional team that is operating that centrally. That team will be managed and grow over time with a 7x24 support. You have, of course, less management involvement, because you have no transformation program, at least not from the delivery part of the billing system. And that may not be so obvious to everybody, but to anybody we talk to who is thinking about starting a machine-to-machine business, the capability to already provide multi-industry process and content, so tariff models in other industries, process models for rating and billing, this is quite exciting to people working in M2M and also wanting to build their M2M customer for their business transactions with that platform. And moving on from that, as I said, the flexibility of the commercial models is obvious, including the spread of the onboarding cost to across the lifetime of the contract. And the full demand elasticity I explained sufficiently well. And finally, this is future-proof. Why is this future-proof? Because we do that with a partner. That partner is SAP. So the SAP consume-to-cash solution is run and offered by a very strong partner, very reliable partner who is really committed to the platform, to developing that platform further, so provides a really productized roadmap for that. And apart from the underlying proposition really being able to support multiple industries, because it has been built for this purpose from the scratch, this strong partner was the second reason why we did this with SAP. And this brings me to the conclusion of my presentation, which summarizes just what I said already. So billing as a service delivers pay as you use. So flexible pay, flexibility, and a fully managed platform. Removes all of the traditional IT bottlenecks, because that basically moves away from the operator. And now you could, at the end of the presentation, ask, okay, why don't you offer billing process outsourcing? It's very simple, because there is, of course, a difference between billing process outsourcing, where we also would operate, and billing as a service. And that is very simple. Billing as a service keeps you in control of the operations. So you have the full flexibility of developing tariff models yourself, removing this external boundary to an external partner, which many times takes a long time and delays things. Yeah, so that's okay if you talk about running the platform, but it's not okay if you talk about using the platform. And that is why we tended to do that as a process as a service rather than a business process outsourcing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Bernd. This gentleman right here. Have a microphone on the way.
Martin Bedford.
No, it's not on.
Martin Bedford from Subex. I'm curious as to where you mentioned about lower cost and risk on new services through the reduction in the fact there's no CRs and kind of localization to particular users. How do they create differentiation on services? Because marketing might want to be restricted in that way.
Yeah, you could in fact ask the very same question for users that use Salesforce.com or any software as a service platform for CRM, etc. The platform is extremely flexible on the configuration level. So the configuration of products is probably, I think, especially because it has been built for multi-industry with no pre-assumption in mind at all. So it's completely industry agnostic and product agnostic. Therefore, as far as I've seen that, it really enables you to model whatever you want to model. So I have at least not seen any limitation in that platform. And that is how it should be. So you should, whatever you do in a product setup, you should do with modeling the tariff, and in the mediation system modeling the data, but you shouldn't customize. Yeah, and that I trust that this product is sufficiently flexible to keep all the things that you need to build differentiation on your products. You do by configuration, so by basically describing your tariff model and your product model.
Just one quick final question then. Focused specifically to consumer, I struggle to see how the B2B market would fit into that as well.
So you mean how the B2B market would fit into that?
Yeah, the business models are just so intrinsically different.
Yeah. And the trick, I think, is if you look at the billing platforms on the market, theoretically, they all can model complex customer hierarchies and complex customer products, or they can model simpler retail customer models and tariffs. But what they cannot do is do both at the same time with the same system. So if you have a dedicated instance for your business customers where you really only do the business modeling, also of opening the system to the people that model the sometimes rather specific B2B products, because they can become even completely individual products, then I think this helps as well. And that is our aim, that we have an interface that is so tailored to the business user that they in fact do most of the modeling themselves.
Matthew Mason from Do in Dubai. Just most mature operators have CRM platforms that are in front of their billing platforms, which obviously interact with dialers and contact centers and inbound calls, call management, etc. How does this solution fit into that environment?
Yeah, this solution focuses exclusively on rating, billing, etc., plus the financial customer care. So it does that by being driven by events. So whatever the CRM system does as a billable transaction, the CRM system has to transform into an rateable event, which is then absorbed by the mediation component, which is, by the way, a real-time capable mediation component. So there is no exceptional trigger from a system directly into rating or something. So this is all following the same flow, and it is possible because the component is a real-time component.
So CRM platforms often, in our case, provision the actual orders as well, because we have fixed services and it's driven as an example out of Siebel. So you've got the fundamentals of the interaction, the customer interface, how does that work with this solution, and then the whole provisioning with the network.
And the provisioning, what provisioning means for a billing system is you need, of course, to activate that tariff for that user, right? And you can either do that if you want to, I would call that quick and dirty, by directly triggering from the CRM system an event in the rating system, or you can do that by having a dedicated end-to-end order orchestration component in the middle, which then, among other activities, would activate a tariff for a user in the system. But you could, the API is structured in a way that you can trigger this directly as well. Yeah, so the API is done by Software AG Web Methods, so it's rather flexible. And the functionality we provide from the platform up, of course, also has the function of set this customer up for that service.
Just to help Bernd out, the platform's got around about 40 or 40 plus points of integration, and around about 50% of the things that we look at have got precisely that issue. They've got an existing CRM, and the platform needs to fit with it and complement it. So it's basically the platform is designed for that particular need, if you like.
Just slows down the out-of-the-box solution approach. Slows it down. Obviously, it's great, and it's just not quite as simple as you're up and running. It can be in less mature operators if they want to use your platforms, your services, your GUIs. They can be up and running very fast, very quickly. But if you've got to integrate with a whole, environment of a mature operator, it'll take some time.
Yes, and that is why I never said that that there is also no transformation or no migration project, because yes, of course there is, and yes, of course you need to connect that to the environment, and the more complex and the more legacy your environment has, the more complicated, time-consuming and costs-absorbing this will be. But the fact remains that we made this as simple as possible, but we couldn't make it just simple, because sometimes simplicity is killed by complexity.
Thank you very much. We'll have more opportunities at the break to speak with Bernd, and of course he'll be with us during the panel discussion a little later this morning. Yeah. Thank you so much, Bernd Freier from Logica.